Fear Factory is one of my favorite bands of all time. They've had 10 studio albums, and the first one came out in 92, I believe. And that was Soul of a New Machine. And I got it in 92 when it came out. I've had the CD that long. And I've progressed age-wise and in life listening to each one of their CDs and getting them as they came out. I feel like if anyone on the internet is qualified to do their own ranking albums list, it would be me. And I'm not shy about saying that. So, just wanted to go over my criteria. Everyone has different criteria when they're ranking a band's albums. One of my big ones is which of the 10 in order would I put in my CD player, which I still have a CD player in my car, and listen front to back and not bat an eye. That's very important. Um, the second one I would say would be the Fear Factory hallmarks. And that would be the syncopation, the vocals and the dynamics and range and the vocals between heavy and clean. Dino's guitar riffing, one of the best riffers out there. His production sound, much like Bert's vocal production sound, they mix well together. So those are what I consider Fear Factory hallmarks, and production. But they're all produced very well, minus the first one, and I'll get into that. And some of the things you have to rule out in this list, as far as I'm ruling out my own personal list, is my own personal biases. For instance, a certain Fear Factory record may have come out during a really rough time in my life. So I have to separate what was going on in my life from the music. So chronological, it's easy to get caught in a trap of trying to rank earlier albums at the top. So I think that's another thing you have to be careful of when doing of your own biases when doing a list like this. I think it should be timeless. I think if I put in a Fear Factory record minus the first one, because of the production, I don't want to hear, oh, this was 1990, I don't know, nine. I wanted to be able to listen to it today, and it doesn't matter when it came out. It's still just really good quintessential Jam and Fear Factory that gets my blood pumping. So those are what I'm looking at in each one of these. So let's get right to it. I'm going to start at number 10. I'm going to go 10 to number 1. And let me say this. I love every single one of these records, all 10 of them. I don't think there's a bad record. Some people would disagree with that. I don't. I love every record, and I could listen to every record all the way through. Some of them lose my attention a little bit, and that will come out in this ranking. I'm going to go with a common one at number 10 would be Transgression. Now, I love every Fear Factory record does some songs I just love, and this has some really great songs. And for some reason, I feel like it wasn't really well received for its lack of heaviness. But I think it's really heavy. There's some really heavy songs, but I think there's some lighter, more rock sounding songs on it, that probably got people feeling that way. Um, but I do love this record. I really do. I don't want to go into the songs of any of these records because I want to do a separate video on their songs. So come back for that. So number 10, Transgression. Number 9. This is going to be a controversial one. Mechanized. I know. I know. What's wrong with me? I don't know. I do love the record, but when I went back, I mean, there's certainly great songs, and like I said, there's not a bad Fear Factory record. I want to say it's almost too pummeling for me, and I'll be the first to admit that. But it's a banger, and no one will say it's not a banger. This was definitely a banging record. When I'm listening to Fear Factory, I want to get both the banging stuff and the melodic stuff. So that has a lot to do with it. But there's some of my favorite. There's, like I said, every record has a couple of really top level songs, and this has them. Number eight, I'm gonna go, and this hurts my heart. Soul of a New Machine. Um, Reason is this sounds the most like other bands, minus what they were doing in certain parts of certain songs that they brought into the rest of the sound for the rest of their career. If you listen to Napalm Death, which I do and did at the time, especially Napalm Death, around the early 90s, Utopia Banished, they sound like Napalm Death and they sound like Godflesh, um, to me. So, but they had some hallmarks here that distinguished them from those bands and other bands in the genre, and that was the clean singing mixed with the Barney Greenway like death metal vocals. I don't think Burton Bell was the first to invent the good cop, quote unquote, bad cop vocal style. But I do think he's probably the first to do it on those extremes. Um, Death metal extreme, melodic singing cleans. So great record. Great record. This is just as hard to distinguish yourself in a genre um, as it is to just do what they did after this record. The production's an issue. I'm not really wanting to going back and doing re-releases and remasters. I like the originals. That's what I'm judging. I wish this was produced and recorded better. I believe they put out two songs. They re-recorded them later in their careers. They were okay. I think, I'm a fan of death metal vocals, so he kind of, I don't know, he never really touched these death metal vocals on any other records like he did this one. I think this was the only one. That's what makes this record unique. So, but I am going to make it because of the other issues. There's some great moments, but a lot of the other stuff is just kind of generic for the most part. He didn't really distinguish himself other than those parts, but those parts were awesome, and that's what made them different. All right, let's move on. I'm going to go to 7. All right, I'm sticking with my list. Digital Mortal. A lot of people would probably put this one toward the end. I think that's interesting though, because I believe their most streamed song is Linchpin. This came out in 2001. And for a song to be from 2001 in the middle of their career for the most part, be that song. Now, they did have a video. MTV was still kind of big at the time. I think they still had a version of the Headbangers Ball. YouTube was coming in. So this song got a lot of, this song, I would say the song was in between when things started to shift, the streaming and the CD buying. But Linchpin, yeah. I do love this record now. I put it in and I like it. I really wish Dead Man Walking made it on the cut instead of Back the Fuck Up. I think Back the Fuck Up really dropped it a notch for me. A little too new metal for me, which I don't mind new metal, but I think that was a little too much. So therefore, it's number 7. All right, number 6. I know you just can't wait. We put The Industrialist. Love this record. Love, love, love this record. Easily could have been further up. And the reason I'm not putting it further up is because of the drum machine. Now, I don't mind the drum machine, but I'm going to come back to that. Or this would have been higher up on the list, but I'll get back to that later. Great songs on here, man. There's a couple of songs just one right after the other, right after the other. They have the most memorable hooks. This is a really, really great record. I look forward to. Now, I will go against my rule and get this when it comes out with Mike Heller on drums, which I think they're doing. So I will get that because I love this record so much. I think people overlook this record for some reason because of the drum machines. And I don't know, like I said, I'm a fan of, I mean, I know of Godflesh and I was into Front 242 and a lot of the industrial ministry, a lot of the industrial drum machine things going on at the time. I did love the Fear Factory remixes, Fear is in the Mind Killer, which I do have. And what was it? Remanufacture. Yeah, I have them. I do love them, but all right, let's move on. Coming in at number 5. This is a tough one. Archetype. Love this record. I put all these records in recently, but before I decided to do this list, I was listening to this record a lot, maybe a month or two ago. Oh, it's so good, man. And I've done that. I've come back to this record, and every time I come back to it, I'm like, damn, that's such a damn good record. Forget the lineup and all that other stuff. I think this is Burton's record right here. Really good hooks. He always has good choruses and good hooks, but I don't know, man. This one is, every record, if people say, oh, they weren't heavy on that record, or maybe they don't. Maybe that's a figment of my imagination, but they have heavy stuff on every record, and this is no different. I'm hesitant once again to go into certain songs, but check back for another video because I do want to go into songs from each record that I really like. Front to back, great record, great record. All right. Here's number 4. I think this is going to be a controversial one. The manufacturer. I know you're thinking, how could you do that? Well, number 1, let me show you this off. This is pretty cool. I got this autographed at the only one that didn't autograph it was Raymond. I couldn't find him, but Christian, Bert, and Dino did. This was at the Iron Maiden tour when they were playing that tour with Blaze Bayley, which I do kind of like some of that record that they did with him, that first record, X Factor. It was kind of when this record came out. So I don't think it really hit in popularity and became the classic that it is today when they were on that tour, but it did after. And this was 95. But it was awesome. I loved it. It was a great live show. I've seen Fear Factory twice. I'll get back to the next time I saw them and what record that was. But yeah. Now the reason I will say that the first half of this record is just awesome. I will say it kind of loses me a little bit on a couple of the songs toward the back. Granted, it started it all. This is the landmark record, but you have to separate yourself from that. You have to look at it as a whole compared to everything. Not the fact that this was the first of a guitar sound or whatever. You have to look at it for each record and in your ears and what you're hearing and what you're feeling. And this is just me. This is my opinion. I'm not taking away from the landmark and influence and masterpiece of a record that this is, but I think they've done it. The things that we're doing on this, they did better on other records, and those records I'm about to highlight as I get into my top 3. Number 3. This was tough. This was close. This one could easily be number 2. And for some reason, I think this will be controversial. Aggression Continuum. Could be number 1. I mean, I don't know what people are wanting, but this is a fucking great record. I mean, it from start to finish, it's got everything you would want. And I think it does it more cohesively. I almost want to say than the other 2 I'm about to highlight in number 1 and 2. This is a solid record from start to finish. It sounds great. all the songs are good. All the riffs are good. All the vocals are good. Memorable parts, memorable songs. A theme running throughout with the keys and the synthesizers, which I think they really did fantastic job with. And I'll go back to that initial thing, cohesiveness. This is a cohesive album. Much like I said, Archetype is Bert's album. I think this is Dino's album. I could riff out to this. The drums, let me highlight Mike Heller, are awesome on this. This is why I want to hear the Industrialists reindustrialized with the real drums, with Mike Heller, as a matter of fact. Drums are awesome. I love the feeling of the drums. It seems like everyone on this album is making it a great record. Bert, Mike, Dino, of course, and everyone that contributed to synthesizers and keyboards. It just is a great record, and production. And I'm gonna say props to Dino. This is a masterpiece. This is a great record, and props to you, sir. I hope to have you on my show someday to talk about some of this stuff. All right, number 2. Y'all are probably going through your head, which one is it? Which one is it? I don't have my list in front of me. Genesis. Why, do you say? Did you not listen to this record as a Fear Factory fan? This is an unbelievable record, much like Aggression Continuum is. Both Burton and Dino are firing on all cylinders on this record, just like they did on Aggression Continuum. I really feel like they did on the Industrialist. I mean, firing on all cylinders, man. Every song on here, one right after the other. Thematic. This could easily have been number 3. I was really going back and forth between Aggression Continuum, but I feel like this is the best representation of Fear Factory. If you listen to the span of Fear Factory, I feel like they put it all in this, like in a blender. Everything you'd like from all the records before this is on here, and it's almost like a greatest hits of original songs. That's the way I look at it. Good record. And if you haven't gotten into it for some reason, you should, just like you should the Industrials, just like you should on all these records. They're all awesome, and this is no different. And this is my list, and I'm going with number 2, Genesis. And number 1, I've seen this on number 1. I've seen this on people's lists as well. Obsolete. I did see them on this tour. I saw them with Machine Head, Slipknot, and System of a Down, and they were headlining. This album was at its peak. This had just great production. They were different from everyone else at the time. They kind of, I feel like they upped it a level from Demanufacture. They became more mature songwriters. They became more confident. I think they really put it together here. And this is sort of a moment in time record. I came in before this record, but a lot of people, this is the first time they heard Fear Factory. You know, a lot of people, first time they heard Fear Factory was Demanufacture. A lot of people like me, the first time you heard Fear Factory was Soul of a New Machine. But we can all agree that this is a great record, and it's number 1. Vocals, guitars, drums, bass, production, aesthetics, themes, cohesiveness, synthesizers. It's got it all. It's got the best of Dino. It's got the best of Bert. It's just a great record, and for that reason, I'm going to give it Obsolete number 1. So let me know what you think. Make your own video. Tell me what you think in the comments below. I'm hoping to hear people who would agree with me, not just disagree. This is can be a controversial subject when you're ranking albums. Let me know what you think. Check back soon. I'm going to do a greatest hits where I'm going to take a couple of songs from each CD and I'm going to make a list. So that's my next. Check back soon for that. Subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff. And see you next time.